Europeans who visited America, what was your biggest WTF moment? Did a house exchange in New Jersey from UK, and on the second day a neighbor came to the door with an actual cherry pie to welcome us and ask us to dinner. It was 1. A huge confirmation of stereotype. 2. Really touching and sweet. Pie was also wonderful BTW. 3. A bit weird because we knew our neighbors wouldn't give a flying frick and we felt bad : Not a WTF moment, but nevertheless a moment I will remember. It was my second trip to California. I was only 18 years old when I got out of the plane. As usual, I had to go through all those security checks. At the last checkpoint, the officer asked me whether I have anything in my suitcase that I didn't mention on his CBP thing. Then he asked for drugs and then for alcohol. I honestly answered all questions with no, and surprisingly he asked me why not. A bit confused, I told him that I knew I wasn't allowed to take drugs or drink alcohol in his country. He got interested and asked whether it was different where I'm from. Germany. Here the minimum age is 16 for light beverages like beer and wine and 18 for the other stuff like spirits. He was so interested, he kept asking stuff for like 5 minutes, not even minding the 100 people behind me. When he let me pass, he instantly turned towards the guy in the other checkpoint was like, "Hey, did you know?" Damn, I just realized a lot of people's first experience in America are these clowns at SAR. First thing I saw after sitting down to have my first beer in Portland was some guy walking in the middle of the street, half-butt dressed as a ninja, with 2 swords on his back. Oh, and before that some homeless guy told me and my friend to go back to your country. Then some slightly hippie looking girl apologized for his behavior. We just laughed at how scripted the situation felt and went to have the beer above. Also, when you play Grand Theft Auto you hear strangers on the street yelling and talking about weird crap. That just felt exaggerated until I went to the US and realized it actually happens all the time. Ironic that a homeless guy tells you to go home. In 2015 I went to Florida. We walked past a crazy golf place and a guy was holding an alligator in his arms. He also told me he had an 8-foot alligator in the back. I'm from England, so I don't think I'll ever quite get over just how casual he was having a freaking alligator in his arms. That's very much a regional thing. My wife is from Florida and isn't fazed by alligators. I'm from Georgia, Alabama, and I won't go near the dang things. I went to pay with card in a restaurant and the waiter just took it and walked off. Sometimes people just give me their card while I'm working. I'm from Canada, and once they hand it to me I panic and have to explain to them that they pay themselves with the machine and that we don't do it for them. We have a lot of Americans coming down from Alaska because I live on a highway that goes from Alaska down to Washington state. Not European but Arab. Went to some diner in Portland, Oregon, and I ordered coffee. Halfway in my coffee she asked me if I wanted a refill. I politely declined, telling her I was short on cash. She laughed and said refills are free of charge, and to top of my amazed reaction she complimented my shirt. Needless to say, she cured my hangover and I fell in love. Had my cousins come over from Latvia for a few weeks. They never got over the absolute size of stores like Walmart and the sheer amount of products offered. Excuse me, I ordered a small. My dad was in tennis last year. He said it was really strange that everyone says hi to you. I am vacationing in Denmark right now and it feels so cold that nobody says hi to me, even in the elevator. All the prices are pre-tax. When I ordered a cappuccino at IHOP and it came in a bowl-sized mug with cream on top and was filled with sugar and vanilla. IHOP was madness. I think my order was about 9,000 calories. Not European, I'm Australian, but went to a Walmart in Arkansas. It was just like stepping into the people at Walmart page. Walmart, Arkansas. Ha, you jumped in with both feet right there. European gone to Texas. The difference in religion is astounding. It's so much more prevalent in people's lives here. There are some beautiful churches in Europe, but they don't seem to have the same spirit as Texas. Also, holy frick, the driving distances are immense. An hour commute in the morning is normal for people. 24 hours open grocery stores, so no excuse if you forgot to buy milk. In Netherlands some days markets close at 6 PM. Till Europeans all visit Texas. It's the America of America. Back in 1987 and asking for a burger and chips. Then sat wondering why the hotel waitress looked at me funny. Then my food turned up. On the other hand, if you ask for fish and chips, everyone in the US will know what you mean. The only time that chips means French fries in the US is if it's preceded by the words fish and. So I've been living in the States for 3 years now, originally from England. I turned to my co-worker one day and asked, "Can I borrow a rubber?" She proceeds to do a double take and said, "What?" I asked again and told her it was to rub out the mistakes I made with a sketch I was working on. She proceeds to burst out laughing and explains to me what a rubber really means. I should have said eraser. While in Florida, we went through a drive-thru and the lady couldn't understand what I was ordering regardless of how slowly and carefully I spoke, so I decided to go inside instead where the lady behind the counter couldn't understand me either. I am a northern Brit but not too broad an accent. My little sister had to put on her Florida accent to order for us. The manager who eventually took the order said she was sorry as the staff were only used to normal English lol. Boston. Didn't notice I had left Europe. Houston. The people were as friendly as they were huge and loud. Hugely loud and loudly huge, I guess. Nashville and other places I went kinda blend together in my head, except for the delicious food. Oh, and the person who asked if my country had coins and traffic lights. What? Yes, I mean, what? I was extremely surprised that in fast food restaurant you will find unlimited soft drinks from time to time, like a refill cup, yet people pay extra for a bigger cup, so they don't have to walk too often, I guess. So much water in your toilet bowls, it's like you're taking your turd for a swim. No, we just love the splash of toilet water on our buttholes when pooping. We make our own bidets, thank you very much. While walking around Austin, random people would just give me a "Hey, how's it going?" as they walked past. In the UK, if someone even looks like they might glance in your direction, it probably means they're about to try selling you something. I probably offended a couple of them with how defensive I seemed. Come to New York, you'll like it. We won't even look in your general direction. There's freaking flags everywhere. The American flag density per square km is so much higher than any other place I've been. It's like every other house has a flag. The number of American flags on display very dramatically shot up after 9/11. Your commercials on TV for prescription drugs. We found the disclaimers for the side effects hilarious. Yes, so do Americans. This is not me. I read a story of 4 Germans who had just finished high school and were going on a USA road trip of beer and herb in some places. They didn't find out the drinking smoking age was 21 until they got there. I had a foreign exchange student friend come from Germany when we were about 19/20, and he ordered a beer the first time we went out to eat. He was shocked when they asked for it and denied him a drink. We laughed and asked if he knew that 21 was the drinking age here. He just replied, "Yes, I heard that, but it seemed too ridiculous. I thought no one would care." Jacksonville, Florida, 2010. During some jazz blues street festival, a lady across the street shouts hi there. I shout back hello. She clocks my accent immediately. Britain, Woorubriataine. I nod slightly. I go back there in a month for the first time since. I left my hotel in Texas at 7 a.m., stopped at McDonald's and got enough breakfast sandwiches to last me through lunch. I then stopped at a gas station to get gas and cigs and 2 Cokes. I gunned it through Texas, sometimes going over 90 miles an hour. I stopped one more time to go to the toilet and get gas and snacks. At 7:30 p.m. I stopped at the hotel to spend the night. I was still in Texas. From Beaumont to El Paso is almost as far as Paris to Budapest. A guy casually selling scorpions on the Vegas Strip probably was at a 4th of July party in the middle of the woods, chilling, having a great time and some beers, zip lining from a tree into a lake. It was like a 90s film come true. Out of nowhere, this redneck comes in with an AR-15 slung over his shoulder shouting, "Let's shoot some crap up." Naturally, I shat myself and made to run into the woods before realizing he was just a guest who turned up a bit late. He turned out to be a really nice guy. I'm Canadian, not European, but still the first time I saw a dude walk by me, into a bank no less, and he stood near a cop. with a gun on a holster and not cause crap. It blew my mind. I went into a Pizza Hut in Nevada and the guy working the register was open carrying. It's normal here. All arguments for or against aside. The space. You guys have so much unused untouched space. It's crazy. In Europe there is barely anywhere that isn't owned or isn't being used. In Europe we have protected forests. In America you have some unrestricted, uncontrolled forests that are massive. Tell that to Scandinavia. They have all this freezing cold land and no people to populate it with. It blows me away that Stockholm has less than 1 million people in it and it's the biggest city in Sweden. I grew up in suburbs that were more populated than that. I'm actually in Nick right now, so that was good timing. I'm from the UK. Yesterday I went to Central Park and there were literally 2 guys just driving around on Segways with giant butt snakes around their necks. Occasionally they'd take them off and dangle them around the nearest random person. I was actually frozen with horror. In Florida, how amazingly friendly people were whilst talking absolute nonsense to make us happy. We are from Wales in the UK. This guy at a burger store asked where we were from and started to tell us how he loves Wales, then went on about how his mum lives there. We asked what part of Wales does she live? His reply, Paris, I think. I'm an Aussie who visited USA. Hope it's okay for me to crash this thread. We loved our visit. Loved the whole bloody place. But I was absolutely gobsmacked when I found Fruit Loops with marshmallows. I genuinely did not think it was possible to make Fruit Loops more unhealthy. But you guys did it. Love your work. We're here for a good time, not a long time. Initially it was people not understanding my accent, but I am used to that now. IDK, I can understand you just fine. So many flags, they were everywhere. I used to live in Canada but live in the US now. It was really weird to me that when I use my debit card it can be ran as debit or credit. Didn't make sense, and to my knowledge doesn't really make a difference. In the US there is a law protecting credit card users, from back in the early 70s I think, that gives you legal recourse against theft and other things. You don't have those protections with a debit card. Since the credit card companies charge less for debit transactions, the store would prefer you do debit. As a US consumer you are much safer using credit. This in 2013. Paying water bill by sending a check in the mail. Giving credit card information off the phone. The entire tipping concept. When I was in LAS Vegas I saw this 300kg specimen pouring 3 packets of sugar sweetener into his Pepsi at the breakfast buffet. Most Americans would think that whole sentence is freaking disgusting. I went to Vegas and saw a homeless guy with a sign that said kick me in the balls for $20. This huge dude was well up for it. He had a bit of a run up and hoofed him right in the knackers. This poor tramp was rolling around in agony but got his money. As an American, this bothers me too. I had that moment in almost every restaurant. Way too much food on my plate and even a small Coke is a large Coke in my opinion. What's interesting is to see the differences from north to south as well. When I visited the south for the first time I ordered a medium meal at a Mexican place and was handed a tray full of food and a drink that was definitely a large up north. Later on for science I bought a large drink and honestly they're like a liter or more. But dang, I love me some sweet tea now. Went to Florida for holiday and it felt like every third car was a Toyota Corolla I think. There was an absurd amount of the exact same car in mostly the same color, red, and it was blowing my mind. Couple we stayed with were hugely nice but very religious and overweight. They voted for Obama and then Trump. Also drove us 4 hours for a day trip. The bread is inexplicably sweet. A nice healthy pancake with blueberries for breakfast was actually 5 pancakes with blue syrup and whipped cream. I could get used to root beer floats though. A rare sentiment from a European. Mostly I hear that Europeans think root beer tastes like toothpaste. My brother lived in Tampa for a while. When I went to visit any American I spoke to told me their life story, their military career, how many jobs they have, kids they have, how old they are etc. I took a 40-minute trip in an Uber from the Keys to Ever and, I'm not kidding, this guy talked, seemingly without taking a breath, the entire time. As a Brit this was very uncomfortable. Ugh, I'm American and I hate talkative Uber Lyft drivers. I'm hoping in the future the app has an option to choose quiet ride. Every time I fly into JFK I'm appalled at how rude and incompetent all the employees are. So many freaking homeless people in SF. SF was the first place I went in America, and it wasn't just the homelessness that struck me, but how many of them were amputees. We have homelessness in the UK, but they mostly have legs. You have been visited by the Wealth Rat. Subscribe in 12 seconds and he will share his wealth with you. Thanks for watching. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.